The former Organizing Secretary, APC Kaduna, and political analyst Moses Idika. He joins us live from Abuja. Mr. Moses, very good to have you join us, and a very good evening to you. Let me just first of all ask you about, how you would assess the overall preparedness of the elections so far, and just the outcome.
Like your reporter pointed out, one of the major issues in this election is voter apathy. A lot of people didn't turn out to vote. People rather observed the election day as a holiday. But that is to tell you the attitude of Nigerians and the disposition of Nigerians towards INEC, because before the election, yes, a week or so before the election, there were a lot of advocacy issues, media outreaches by the INEC, but many Nigerians don't seem to trust INEC. There's this apathy, there's this feeling that whatever happens, that perhaps the results were already written. And that is what I think that INEC should now focus on to convince Nigerians ahead of the critical 2027 general elections, because this is a pointer to what may happen in 2027. I believe that INEC should learn some lessons from here, especially under the new leadership of the chairman of the INEC.
As we're talking about voter apathy and just a low turnout, let's also look at, the transmission of results as well as the accreditation that we have seen so far. So far, so good. There have been complaints about vote buying in some locations, some issues of a scuffle going on. But overall, there seems to be, if you were to score them and give them a score, given all that's happened, in leading up to the elections and now at the Collation Center, would you say that we are well on the way into what most likely would be a well-organized elections come 2027?
Well, on the part of INEC, in terms of preparedness for the election, they did their homework very well. Usually, when you see this vote buying violence, it's actually instigated by politicians or supporters of some politicians. So it's not really the fault of INEC. But then the fact that politicians and their supporters believe that they could disrupt the elections to their own advantage poses a lot of concern to Nigerians, especially in our quest for credible elections. So I think that from the Collation Center, whenever INEC announces the result, we can then know if really the IREV issue is standard, because many people that turned out to vote, the votes were counted, and from the reports of eyewitnesses, those who voted, the IREV machine, there were no malfunctions of the machines. But a lot of people still believe that until the results are announced, if it then corresponds with what was counted in the field, then that way it means INEC can be trusted. So I think on the part of INEC, they are prepared. After all, just in 6 local governments, they were quite prepared, they were ready, but the results will now determine how foolproof the IREV.
Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we come back, we'll continue. Stay with us. We were talking about the dominant issues that will just shape, voter decisions going into these elections. Now, for far too long, local government elections and area council elections have always been not exactly a matter of concern for voters. Not saying that it's not concerning for them, but whenever we look at the turnout at the polls, it really just decides, where voter lies. General elections and presidential elections and gubernatorial elections, we always see higher turnout and more attention given to it as opposed to local government chairman election and area council elections. So let's speak to that, about that, and why we keep seeing this type of numbers, and what really would be the catalyst to change voter behavior going into elections such as these.
In the FCT, the good thing is that INEC conducts the elections of the local councils, unlike the states where there are various state electoral commissions conduct the elections, which is what actually leads to the apathy over. They believe that the elections there were going to be won by the ruling parties. So I think that I'm one of those who feel that INEC should conduct all elections, especially when the Constitution guarantees, recognizes the local government as third tier of government. So INEC should conduct the elections. Then to mitigate the voter apathy, it depends on the credibility of INEC in the eyes of the public. The voters, when voters see INEC as being credible enough, then they will go out to vote, believing, knowing that their vote will count. But in a situation where there's that apathy, there's that belief that the election results were already predetermined, so it discourages people. But I believe that Nigeria is a growing democracy, and with the new Electoral Act, I think that by the time the Electoral Act, the 2020 Electoral Act is tested in the court with the electronic transmission of votes, it will further boost the morale and the confidence of Nigerians in the electoral system. And that is the only time we can generally mitigate voter apathy.
All right. I must say thank you, Moses Idika, there, political analyst, and earlier on we had Sam Yohanna from the APC Organizing Party members or committee for the APC chapter in Kaduna State. Unfortunately, we cannot continue with this discussion due to network connectivity, but thank you, gentlemen, for taking out the time to join us this evening.